Why is fear of failure holding so many of us back? Do you know some of the most successful people in history, Michael Jordan, J.K. Rowling, even Thomas Edison, failed countless times before achieving their greatness? And what if failure isn't the enemy we think it is? What if it's actually the greatest teacher we'll ever have? In today's video, I'm taking a deep dive into how failure or fear of failure could actually be your biggest motivator and how to turn it how to turn your setbacks into your greatest comebacks. When we think about failure, we often associate it with things like shame, embarrassment, or even regret. We think of something to be avoided at all costs. But here's the truth, failure is not the end, it's just a part of the journey. Every successful person you admire has faced failure at some point, sometimes on an unimaginable scale. But what sets them apart is their ability to use failure as fuel. They don't just learn from it, they grow because of it. In this video, I'll show you how to shift your mindset, reframe your failure, and harness it as one of the most powerful tools for growth, resilience, and success. Now let's talk about the problem, the fear of failure. It's something almost everyone faces, or I would say the biggest majority of people would ever face. Especially when you're an entrepreneur or a student, or you're just trying to improve yourself in some shape or form, or you're starting a new hobby, sport, etc. Now this fear can be completely paralysing. It can stop you from taking risks, trying new things, or even just something as simple as pursuing your dreams. But where does the fear come from? For many of us, it's rooted in childhood. We're often taught that failure is bad. It's something to be ashamed of, that you didn't get top marks, therefore you're a failure. Like, remember those kind of report cards? Like, a bad grade wasn't just a mistake. It felt like a reflection of who you were as a person. Now, over time, we start to internalise this idea that failing means that we're not good enough. As adults, this fear becomes more complicated. It's not just about grades anymore. It's about our careers, our relationships, our finances. The stakes feel higher, and the fear of what others might think becomes overwhelming. So what do? We play it safe. We avoid risks. We stick to what's comfortable. Even if it means never reaching our full potential, we stay way down here in this comfort zone. And the problem with avoiding failure when you play it safe is you miss out on growth. And growth only happens when you step outside the comfort zone. And stepping outside often means failing along the way. And what a lot of people tend to do is stay in that safe place inside that comfort zone. So they never really grow. And if you never grow, you never reach your full potential. And the world is filled with millions, probably even billions, of people who are never reaching a full potential because they don't want to go outside the comfort zone, because it means there's going to be that openness to failure. Now let's explore why failure is so valuable and how we can start seeing it differently. I want to share some powerful examples of people who turned their failures into motivation to give you a better idea of how it can come about for yourself. Now take Thomas Edison for example. Famously said, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Edison faced thousands of failed attempts before inventing the light bulb. Imagine if he stopped at attempt 500 or attempt 9,999. So what is it we learn from that? Well, persistence. We learn that persistence is required. Failure isn't about getting it right the first time, it's about staying in the game long enough to succeed. And if we take J.K. Rowling's example, she was rejected by 12 publishers before a small unknown company decided to take a chance on a manuscript. Today, one of the most successful authors in history, despite what people may say or may think, it's still facts. But what if she stopped after the 5th rejection? That story teaches the importance of resilience. Sometimes failure isn't just one person's opinion, and it doesn't define your potential. So many people put themselves out there, they get that one negative piece of feedback, and then they stop completely, think, well, that's it, it's failed, what's the point of trying? And that's not to say it doesn't hurt. Of course it hurts. Like no one likes to feel like they failed. But it's having that mental resilience that's required to go, I failed, I'm going to try again. I failed, I'm going to try again, and not giving up. The most important part is making sure you've learned where it went wrong and how to do it better, not just continuously fail doing the same thing over and over again. That's the part that's important, and that's where people get stuck. And I'll tell you, Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, arguably debatable, whatever, cut from the high school basketball team. So imagine being told you're not good enough to play the sport you love, that that's what you want to do with the rest of your life. Instead of letting that failure completely crush him, he used it as fuel. He worked harder than ever, eventually becoming the name he is today. And his story reminds us that failure can be the ultimate motivator if you let it push you to improve. What most people would have done in that situation is just given up entirely, rather than going, no, I'm going to work harder, I'm going to improve. And that is usually what the biggest separator from success is for a lot of people. It's not about getting it right first time, because that rarely ever happens. You do have outliers, but it doesn't really happen very often. Most people will continuously fail over and over and over again, but it means they'll learn from it, improve, and move forward. And that's why we don't use failure as a bad thing, use it as a learning tool. Another example would be James Dyson, the inventor of the dual cyclone bagless vacuum cleaner. Dyson spent 15 years creating over 5,000 prototypes before he eventually got it right. And now today his company's worth billions. And the story from that teaches patience. Big achievements don't happen overnight. The result of relentless effort, even in the face of constant setbacks. And what a lot of people see, especially in the modern world, the modern day, especially with the social media influencers, is thinking people become an overnight success. No, life doesn't work like that. What you don't see is all the hard work in the background. You see the 5-minute clips and videos or 30-second clips and videos and little snippets. You don't see all the hard work that's gone into it. You don't see all the failures. You don't see the redevelopments. And there's loads more examples of people like that as well, who weren't the finished article when it started. Nobody is. People go through changes. Like you look at pop stars especially, where they go through rebrands all the time. They go through developments and changes because music's always changes, so you have to change with it. And then some of them stand the test of time, where they just keep going and keep going and keep going. But no one was amazing to start with. It takes time. And the Beatles took over 2 years to be discovered. Like it's remembering that you are going to fail loads of times. It's just as long as you learn from it. So the takeaways from that is, what do these all stories have in common? And they all highlight the same truths, that failure is inevitable. It's how you respond that matters. Rather than thinking, I don't want to fail, think about, what am I going to learn from my failures? Accept it is going to happen. It takes all the power away from the fear of failure massively. The fear is gone when you know what's going to happen. And then how you respond to it is what's going to make the biggest difference. Understand that resilience, patience, and persistence are the key. You have to keep going. You don't give up. And that every failure is just a stepping stone to success. It doesn't mean that you're not going to succeed. It doesn't mean you failed as a human being. It just means that there's been mistakes that you can learn from and you can move forward. And a good way to reframe it is start seeing failure as a teacher. Ask yourself, what did I learn from this? How can I do it better next time? And be able to have that mindset shift from tons of failure, from fear, into something you can actually embrace. And that removes a lot of the power from the fears as well. And anytime anything comes up that I work on, anything I put a lot of passion, time and energy into, or resource into, that flop, at first, yeah, I'm going to feel a bit embarrassed about it. I'm going to feel like a waste of my time, but then ask, what can I learn from this? And usually then I can realise where I've went wrong. It could be the research hasn't been carried out properly. It could be haven't asked the right type of feedback, haven't been flexible. There's bits here, there and everywhere that could have went wrong, so it means next time I do it, I tweak that and change it and then go again. And it happens to everyone. No one is immune from this. And all of these lessons completely change how I approach a lot of things today. And this is what gets me better results, is because I look at what I've done wrong and redo it. For example, these videos on YouTube, these will get better. It's just a simple thing, but they're not going to get better if I don't do them. It's as simple as that. And the point of it is to understand that failure isn't final, it's feedback. It's a chance to grow, to adapt, and come back stronger. So here's what we've learned. Failure isn't the enemy, it's going to be your greatest teacher from now forward. Every setback is an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to build resilience. The most successful people in the world didn't avoid failure, they embraced it, and it's time for you to do the same as well. Now I hear from you. What's a failure you've faced, and what did you learn from it? Share your story in the comments, I'd love to hear it, and have a bit of conversation, go backwards and forwards to see what we learned from it. And if you're ready for more strategies to overcome challenges to build confidence, then check out some of the other videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share with someone you think will get value from this. And I'll also post details on how to join the free SKOOL community in the comments so we can all grow together.